Hello, hello. Welcome back to the podcast. It's your girl, Kamie Crawford. And today we have an actual expert in the building, not just me, giving you my solicited thoughts and opinions. We have Dr. Molly Burrets, clinical psychologist and relationship expert. Dr. Molly, welcome to the show.
I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so happy to have you here because the girls need help. I didn't actually realize how much help the girls needed until we posted a question box on our story and we said, ask a relationship therapist anything. Blew up. So many responses. I mean, what do you think about kind of just like where we are, I think, in the calendar? Like cycle. I feel like after the holidays and Valentine's Day, people are really starting to like ask real questions about their relationships right now.
Yes. Yeah, because what I think that people don't realize about Valentine's Day is that my office blows up with people calling because they've had a breakup. Because Valentine's Day comes with a lot of expectations.
Yeah.
And with expectation comes a lot of opportunity for disappointment.
Yeah.
And it can just reach a sort of climax where relationships end. So I do feel like as we're like approaching spring, and here in LA, thank God, the weather is approaching spring,
Yeah.
there's opportunity for new chapters and people want to start them.
Is good, but also like, oh,
It's so much work.
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's hard.
If you are in that dating game and you're in the relationship spiral, as I was for so many years, I completely get it. It's exhausting.
Yeah.
It's exhausting to try to find your person.
What made you get into this work? Like, what made you choose relationships as your area of expertise?
Honestly, my own relationship turmoil and struggles has really informed me. And people always think that's so weird. They're like, oh, you're a relationship expert. You must have had perfect relationships. No, I feel like most of what I learned about relationships, I learned the hard way. And the difference between me then and me now is first of all, a lot of education,
Yes.
formal education and training, and a lot of willingness to grow from painful experiences, but I have been down and out many times.
Yeah.
And I'm in a much better place now. And I've luckily been able to translate that personally into my life as well as professionally.
Yeah, I love that. Do you share those things with your clients? I mean, I know there's always like kind of that barrier. Like for me, for instance, my therapist and I have been together for 5 years now, I think.
love that for
4 or
you.
5
That's
years.
so important.
I love her. And she doesn't know this, but of course, when I signed up with her, I did like my little research to find out who she is. I found her wedding registry.
Oh, I love
And so I knew that she was married
Yeah.
when we first started working together. And while we were working together a few years in, she and her wife actually ended up getting a divorce. And she had never opened up to me about like being married but I knew, I could sense, because I'm just like that type of person, that she was going through something. She wasn't making it like impact our work together, but when she later told me that she was going through a divorce, I was just like, wow, like it must be difficult as a therapist to try to like compartmentalize your life, the things that you're dealing with and struggling with, and being there for your clients. Have you experienced that?
Yeah, anything that I tell my clients, my barometer for do I share with a client, like the question is this in service of the client? I never want to self-disclose to a client if it's in service of me.
Yeah.
It's not about me. But I do sometimes share about my life because, one, I value authenticity. I think it's important in a relationship.
Yeah.
People are showing up so vulnerable, sitting in your chair and telling you everything. To me, it's like there's a sacredness to that relationship, and I want to show up as who I really am. So yeah, I do sometimes share when it's appropriate, but the way I experience therapy now, as like with 17 years experience behind me, is, to me, it is life-giving being in that room and having that relationship. So I actually find when I'm going through like a hard time, that doing this healing work with other people also is very healing for myself.
Yeah. That's really beautiful. Because I don't know. I obviously am not licensed. In case you didn't know that, guys, I'm not licensed.
You have the license of life.
Yes, exactly. And I have this podcast, and I remember in the beginning, I was going through a really bad breakup, and I had just started this podcast, and I was just like, obviously I have to share this with my listeners. They're writing in to me every single week telling me the deepest, darkest relationship that they've dealt with in their life. Like, I have to share in order to build that confidence, but also like it's the only way. And it has become very therapeutic for me. It's become like my little diary of all of my relationship shit.
Yeah. And I think your transparency is such like a part of your secret sauce. Like, people love you because they know you.
Yeah.
You know?
Thank you. Well, speaking of people and their vulnerability, we got a lot to get through.
We do.
I had so many other things in mind for our conversation, but I feel like they will come up.
Okay.
Because of what people have written in.
Okay. I can't wait to hear.
Oh, yes. I'm telling you. I was like, we need a professional. We need a professional for these. Okay. Here we go. Ask a relationship therapist anything. Someone said that they were blindsided by a breakup. It was it's me, it's not you situation. How to move on when you thought that they were the one. It's hard.
Yeah. When you have a totally different perspective of your relationship than your partner does, but you don't know it until the end, that is a grief like no other.
Yeah.
Because in a relationship that is, increasingly distressed or unhealthy, you have signs and there's a way in which you're emotionally preparing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when you're blindsided, that's a particular kind of grief.
Yeah.
And, I want to start with a place of grace for this person because people are so complicated and we don't always know what's going on with our partners. Yes, I get the advice of like, well, what were the red flags that you missed? And in retrospect, you can, with time, always see things.
Yeah, of course.
But
Hindsight is 20/20.
Exactly.
That's why they say it.
But when this happens in the moment, you don't already have that hindsight.
Yeah.
So I start with giving yourself grace and coming to a place of acceptance that they had an experience of the relationship you knew nothing of. It's not fair, but it's what happened. And if you are so stuck to your own view of the relationship, you can't understand why it ended.
Yeah.
So you have to unglue yourself a little bit that this person, and you may never know all the reasons why, this person had a different experience than you. You can't control that. You didn't know about that. It's not fair, but it is real.
Yeah.
And them giving you the gift of goodbye will serve you in the long run. But you have to get through the grief to get there.
The gift of goodbye is that's a bar. That's very real, because I think that a lot of times when you're in these situations, or if you've been broken up with, you feel like you're losing something.
You are losing something.
Yeah.
You're losing your idea of what you believed it was.
Damn, Dr. Molly.
I just thought I'd come correct right from the start.
You did. You absolutely did. Wow. Okay. Someone said, how do people navigate the negativity associated with being young parents?
Oh my gosh. Negativity. So like how I'm assuming this person means how others view her.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It is starting to be such a cultural bias, right? Especially in large metropolis areas that people are having kids later. I had my kids later in life. Do you, girl?
Yeah.
Here's what I will tell you. I had a child at 40 and a child at 45.
Wow.
And I don't recommend it. I don't recommend it.
Why?
I'm tired. I'm tired. And I wish I had my shit together earlier in life to be able to do what I'm doing now, but I didn't. I didn't have my relationship in place. I didn't have my education, my schooling in place. Yes, there are a lot of things that are better about parenting because I'm so much more grounded and secure than I was then.
Yeah.
But there are real benefits to doing and having this relationship while you're young, while you're energetic, while you're not having fertility problems, for one.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and like, you do you, girl. Everybody has a different path in life, and this happens to be hers. And what's cool about having your kids young is that when you're my age in your mid 40s, then you're starting a new chapter.
Yeah.
And you get to experience life in a new form.
Yeah.
You know, without those responsibilities. So, you know, there's pluses and minuses both ways.
Right. And like, what constitutes as a young or an older parent?
Yeah.
Like, you know, it really is.
I think subjective.
It's so subjective. And I think from your child's point of view, they don't give a shit as long as you're a good parent.
Exactly.
They don't care how old you are.
Right.
My mom had me at 26.
Uh-huh.
And growing up, I always thought, I'm going to be a young mom. I'm going to be young and hot like my mom. Like, I literally was the kid in school. Like, Stacy's mom came out when I was in middle school. And people used to sing, Kamie's mom has got it going on, because my mom was so hot. And, like, I was kind of like, oh, none of the boys like me because they only care about my mom. But, yeah.
They didn't know you were going to turn out like this, Kamie.
Yeah, right, exactly. They had no idea. They didn't know what I was going to come with. But she was always there for everything. She was vibrant. She was, you know, all those things. And then for my sisters, like, I have 5 sisters, 4 of which she birthed. My parents had my mom had me before she met my dad. My dad had a daughter before he met my mom. Then they had 4 together.
Got it.
And so I watched her with my sisters, the youngest being 18. So we have a 14-year age gap. So my mom had them at 40. Wow. Natural twins at 40. Holy crazy. Wow. And she's just like born and bred to be a mother. Yeah. She's just so good at it. But I can't say that, like, my mom raising me at 26 versus her raising my sisters at 40. I can't really say that there was, like, striking difference. Maybe, like, I don't know, money that I may have not realized, like, wasn't there in surplus, but I never felt that way. Like, it was about her. It was about having her love. Like, she was able to disperse it for all those years. So, you know, and then there are people who are older parents who don't give their kids any kind of, you know, emotional intelligence or attachment, and fuck them.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
And scene.
Yes, exactly. Like, do you? I think that people are, you know, I think the judgment comes from projection a lot of times. And, you know, the judgment on younger parents. And sometimes, like, fear, like, will they be able to do all of these incredible things? But I think that, I don't know, if I was in that situation, I feel like I would be responding to those people with, like, you know, instead of projecting your fears onto me or giving me your judgment, I'd really love your support. And that's the higher version of me, because the young me would have said, fuck you.
Yeah.
These are my kids, and you don't get to see them.
Yeah.
But I've changed.
Yeah.
I also don't have kids yet, so, you know, maybe that's part of the reason. Okay, the next one. Someone said tips before moving in with a partner. Questions or things to discuss / consider.
Oh, this is such an important question.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I don't know if it's out there in, like, the popular, you know, media, but there is this big research study that came out like 15, 20 years ago that showed that people who live together before marriage have a higher rate of divorce. It was no, don't worry. That's only part of the equation.
Dr. Molly, I just moved in June.
I know, girl. I know. It's going to be fine.
But we're not even engaged yet.
Here's what they came to. So they wanted to know why. Is it the actual moving in together? So they've done all these subsequent studies to follow up on this. Here's what they found out. People who are unclear about their commitment to each other, who move in together, have a higher rate of divorce.
Got it.
Now, why is this? This is because moving in together means you are taking risks.
Yeah.
You're, in many cases, combining assets. You're making big moves that have a cost if you break up. It's harder to break up once you're living together.
Yeah.
So if you go into it unclear about the commitment, then you live together and it's harder to break up.
Yeah.
Sometimes people kind of slide into marriage instead of really making an intentional decision based on the right factors.
Yeah.
It's easier to get married. We already live together. The cost of breaking up would be so much. Our lives are so intertwined. And that's what they found is if you go into living together already with a firm commitment about what the future is going to look like, then there's no impact. So especially for women who honestly have so much at risk getting in a relationship because we give so much. And again, all the research shows that marriage, men benefit from marriage much more than women do.
Yeah, and they live longer when they're married, right?
Exactly.
And then we'd be
Women live
dying
short.
off early
Exactly.
because
Yep.
these motherfuckers are stressing us out.
So that's what I want to say to women is like, before you move in, no, you are going to be giving a lot and make sure you're getting what you think you're getting in return. I really encourage people to at least know what the commitment level is. Know, do you see yourself marrying me? Do you want to have kids? Ask the hard questions and find out the hard answers before you take the risk of moving in.
That's very good advice because I do feel like there's a lot of avoidance, which is crazy to me because if this is somebody that you want to spend your life with, don't you want to know the answers to all this? Like, do you want to learn by experiencing it for the first time within a marriage or within a home together? Like, I don't. I want to know before we even get there.
But you know what? I think that people want to know, but they're afraid to ask because of, you know, our culture and how it views women who want a commitment, who want to get married, who want to have kids.
Yeah.
Because of the patriarchy, honestly, men have so much more power than women, and it's a power card that men hold. It's almost like they're holding the keys to commitment in marriage, and women are afraid to be vulnerable and let people know that they want those things.
Yeah.
You know, this whole like pick me girl thing. I hate that.
Really?
It's like, yes, pick me. Pick me. You think I want to spend my life with someone who's not going to pick me?
Yeah.
Yeah, pick me. Yeah. I'm trying to find out who's going to pick me, you know?
Facts.
I'm like, that to me feels very rooted in misogyny.
It is, you know,
honestly. I want women to find out, to be upfront from the start about what they want so they can filter out everything that doesn't fit.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right on that. And that's the thing. I think that there are people who think that pick me behavior, like, oh, that's pick me behavior. Like, they think of it as something completely different than when I see it. I think of like the internal misogynistic women who go on rampages about other women and try to down other women. I'm like, sometimes I'll see videos like this girl Pearl. I don't know if you know her. Hopefully, pray you don't. Well, now that I said it, your phone is going to flood you with Pearl content. She's crazy. Anyway, she makes the nastiest content about women constantly shitting on women. If you know, you know. She needs a healing.
Pearl needs some
from the
maternal
inside.
love.
Yeah. So when I think of pick me, I think of her. And if I see things that she says, I'm like, I hope you get picked, girl. Yeah. I really hope they pick you, because for all of this, like pandering to men to spite women that to me is pick me behavior.
That's someone who's hurting.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But that's really good advice. I think that, I mean, with my boyfriend and I, we were so clear, and we had conversations before moving in, because I had never lived with a man before. He had, I mean, during COVID, like, I think everybody kind of like shacked up with whoever they were with at the time for comfort purposes. But he had never actually like fully lived with a woman either, like other than COVID times.
Yeah.
And I personally am someone, when it comes to moving in with a partner, I think that if you've never had the experience of living on your own before, and you can, and it's feasible for you, you should live on your own. Men and women. I think everybody,
or at least with roommates, right?
Yeah, I think everybody should experience what it's like, even living without a roommate. But I'm also I'm a solo kind of gal, so I haven't really had a lot of roommate situations. I've had a few, but
this
like,
is a big change you've made.
Huge change for me.
Okay.
And I love it. I love living with him. We love living together. We love the time that we get to spend together. But we had the conversations before this. So like, to me, it was really important before moving in that like, we had a clear trajectory. Like, okay, how long are we just shacking up? Because I don't have to do that, you know? And neither does he. So like, what do we see for this relationship moving forward? How long do we want to rent for? How much rent is feasible? Who's paying the rent? Those kinds of conversations, which our setup is that, you know, we're bi-coastal. So he pays all the bills in New York. I pay my mortgage and things in LA because
that works.
That's
works. Great for you guys.
That works for us. And so I think those conversations too about like money, bills, decorating.
Ooh.
Decorating was a conversation that I didn't even think we were going to have to discuss because I'm like, I've got great taste. You know my taste.
Yeah.
What do you mean you want to help pick out a credenza?
Yeah. Like,
since when do you even know what a fucking credenza is? Like, I've got this. I've got to figure it out. Those are things that like, that's a little something, but it can be a big something depending on who you're living with.
Depending on your conflict resolution skills.
Right, exactly. And you have to compromise on some things, which is very hard sometimes.
Yeah.
I compromise on the fact that he notoriously leaves the dish sponge in the sink with the dirty dishes.
If my husband leaves the closet door open one more time,
divorce.
Close the damn door.
What is wrong with them?
I'm so tired of closing that door.
Why do they, like, we've had this conversation 1,000 times, but you know what his conflict resolution is? He was like, baby, I know it bothers you. I know you hate it. You say that they're going to get moldy. He was like, I will give you the money, buy as many sponges as you want. And every time I do it, throw it out and buy a new one.
Okay.
And I said, all right.
Okay.
But I'm getting the nice ones.
Yeah. Yes. Now that's compromise.
That's how you keep a relationship
Teach
working.
Him, girl. Teach him.
Oh, but I was just like, please. But then there are things that I do that, like, you know. And then as of last week, he started this new habit where he leaves the toothpaste cap off the toothpaste. I'm like, when the fuck did you start doing that? He never did that before.
You need to get the one that just snaps open and stays on.
But then he might leave it unsnapped. I don't know if he was in a rush. I didn't bring it up. I'm choosing my battles. But that's a no-no for me.
Yeah. But you know what? In the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll count my blessings. I'll be very
If
very
you need
grateful.
to remind yourself about some of your exes and their behavior.
Oh, God. I would never. I could never. I decided to wait for the right person to move in for sure. Oh, someone, in addition to moving in, someone said advice on a couple having a baby together and about to move in.
Oh.
Twofer.
Wow.
At the same time.
Yeah. My advice would be preventatively to get into couples therapy together. And I'm not trying to be like crisis oriented or fear mongering. Couples therapy is going to, when you establish a relationship with a trusting therapist who will already be in place before the many stressors come at you that are about to come at you, you will have the scaffolding and the support to address those things as they come, rather than waiting until you're in crisis mode. The average couple has a problem for 6 years before they get couples therapy. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I mean, couples therapy is expensive. It's hard to find a good person. Like, it's vulnerable. There's so many reasons. I get it.
Yeah.
But when you've had a problem for 6 years, it is a lot harder to solve when those patterns have become rigid and ingrained. But this couple, what I know about them for sure right now is they're probably very malleable. Their processes are just being formed right now.
Yeah.
So get the scaffolding now preventatively rather than waiting till things are urgent, because I promise this couple that there will be conflict, there will be stress, there will be fatigue, and there will be change. With the right relationship, you can manage all of that, and it never hurts to have a little help.
Yeah. 6 years is crazy.
Yeah.
But I feel like that does make sense. But then it's at that point, I feel like it's been looming for so long that there's so much resentment built up. And get in before it gets really tough. Like, get in while you guys are still in the happy phase of like, we're having this baby. But from what I understand, as someone who's never had children before, having a baby turns you into a completely different person. You're not even the same people that you were before, in a good way, but also like your partner's going to have to get to know that new version of you on top of getting to know whether or not you leave the sponge in the sink.
Right. It's a transformative experience.
Yeah.
And the part of the relationship that requires you to be teammates gets front and center. Right. And so you learn about who your partner is in a team in a whole new way.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think the conversation is changing around therapy for, younger people, which I love that for them.
Yeah.
And so maybe it will change, that people will get into this process before 6 years of struggling.
Yeah. Ooh. And good luck. And congratulations. Very exciting, but you want to have the tools. Okay. Someone said, how do you deal with a cheating situation with a partner in a very calm manner? I don't know, because I'm busting the windows out your car.
I'm wondering, when I hear that question, I'm wondering, why do you want to stay calm?
Well, maybe, I don't know if you have heard of the term crash out.
No, tell me.
So I am a retired crash out.
Okay, tell me all about it.
And basically a crash out is someone who is capable of anything.
Like destruction.
Yeah, when they're enraged.
Okay, got it.
And as a retired crash out, I can imagine that you might want to stay calm because you don't know
what you're capable of. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
But I don't know if this person is, but maybe they're like, okay, how do I calmly address the situation without busting the windows out of their car?
Yeah.
What do you suggest?
I don't think it's possible to stay calm.
Yeah.
But I do think that you can have boundaries for yourself, like physical aggression and destruction are off the table. So how do you hold yourself accountable in that way? I think that if we're talking about confrontation, if this person has discovered the cheating and they're about to confront their partner, maybe your partner is not the first person you talk to about this.
Yeah.
Maybe you're talking to one extremely supportive, trustworthy person and getting some of that aggression and emotional reactivity out before the conversation with your partner.
Yeah.
Right? And you know the ways to settle yourself, or hopefully as you grow and evolve, you learn the ways to settle yourself. Like, I know I need to work out. I know I'm better when I do my meditation, know. Do the things that you know are the things that are very centering to you.
Yeah.
And don't let that person be the first person you talk to. Also, I think this just came to me, that setting a time and a place, being intentional about where and when you're going to have this conversation. Look, I think this is really hard. If someone discovers this information, anybody would just want to address it right then and there and be extremely emotionally reactive. Like, that seems very normal to me.
Yeah.
But if you have the wherewithal to pause.
Yeah. Then I just also thought, as you were saying that, like, what if this person is not a crash out? What if the person that they are addressing is actually the more aggressive one or lacks accountability? Like, what if you're approaching someone who has cheated, knowing that they react poorly when being held accountable for things?
I think, just because of my history of working with mostly women, I go to safety. And you don't want to confront that person when you're alone.
Yeah.
There's a spectrum, right, of how dangerous this could become. But you really got to think, if you're confronting a partner who is defensive, aggressive when confronted, and is also cheating on you, you really have to evaluate what kind of investment you want to make in this person.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very real. I want to ask you a question, actually, that I just answered on a recording that I just did in a solo, of someone who asked, how can I get my husband to see my worth?
You can't.
Okay. I'm glad that you're hearing from an expert, because I said the same. I said divorce, but I wanted to make sure that I was correct. And I always am. See, this is why they should just give me like an honorary
Yeah.
degree.
That's right.
Where did you go?
You're doing the good work.
I'm going to call them.
You're doing the Lord's work.
I know. Yes, exactly. I know you work at USC sometimes too as
I
a
teach
professor.
couples therapy there.
I'm going to come. I'm going to come. I'm
You need to be
enrolling.
my guest speaker.
I would love that.
Oh my God, my students would die.
I would love
I'd
that.
be the coolest professor ever.
Oh my God, I love that. See, guys, I'm a professional.
Yeah,
but that's it. Yeah.
You
You can't.
You can't. And that question honestly breaks my heart.
Yes.
If you're asking that question, you have all the answers you need. You just haven't let yourself absorb them yet.
Yeah. I hated the question. I mean, I hated it for the person.
Yes.
Oh, someone said, what are the best dating tips and conversations to have? This is so funny because I was actually talking to my friend the other day. She was going on a first date and she was like, what if we run out of stuff to talk about? Like, what do I bring up? And I remembered my first date with my boyfriend. I was like, I should write questions down, in case I don't have anything to say. I didn't end up having to use any of them, but like, what are some good first date conversation starters?
Yeah. Well, I think I think it's very age dependent, right? Someone who's dating in their early 20s is very different than someone who's dating in their early 40s, right?
Yeah.
I think if you have less time, there's a way that you want to cut to the chase a little bit faster.
Yeah.
So I think if you're younger and you know, sort of have more, metaphorically, have more time, right? You can keep it lighter. Ask about what they enjoyed as a child. I love getting to know who someone was as a child because for so many of us, who we were as a child, that's the last time that we were authentically able to be everything that we are. You know, and not everyone has that experience as a child.
That's true.
And that's also important data,
Yeah.
right? But for some of us, for lucky folks, who we were as children, we really got to be who we were. So I remember my interests as a child, and those interests, even though I don't really have time for them now, they are still so core and central to like who I am. So I love the idea of asking about what someone was like as a kid. What were their childhood experiences?
Yeah, that is really good insight. I feel like that you can learn a lot from somebody because I dated a guy who was, he'll tell you, he was like, I was so bad as a kid. I was so bad as a kid. But he was bad as an adult too. And I was like, so if I have kids with you, they're going to be bad like you were and are now?
Yeah.
Ugh.
You know what a really good follow-up question for that is? And how do you understand that about yourself? Right? I was really bad as a kid. And how do you understand that?
Yeah. Like, was it something that your parents told you or was it something like, did you get in trouble a lot or whatever? Yeah. Well, I can understand it for him.
Yeah.
Because
you're attuned and insightful.
he was terrible. Anyways, oh, someone said, how to win back the love of my life. Currently on no contact.
I mean, this is so dependent on the situation. What happened that you lost the love of your life?
Yeah.
Okay, if the love of your life doesn't want you, I'm sorry to tell you that is not the love of your life. If you have done something to betray the love of your life, then you need to sit tight, engage in behaviors that demonstrate trustworthiness, do the personal work of changing, and hope that they find you again.
The girls aren't going to like to hear that if they don't want you, that they're not the love of your life. But I tell my friends this all the time. They're like, oh, he hasn't texted me back in like 3 weeks, but like he's my husband. Is he?
It took me so long to learn that. I didn't learn that until my 30s.
I understand that like and I think women especially do this, like we can create a whole life with someone in our minds. And I was actually just talking about this on the solo too. Like we've been forced to be forward thinking from a young age because of our biological clock. We just have to think about, where do I want to be in 5 years? Okay, if I'm with this person, it's not working out, and then I break up with them, then I have 3 more good years to find somebody. Like we always have to be calculating that.
That's right.
But why even waste a moment with someone who you're so unsure? I don't know. There's just like, you want to be with someone who's sure about you.
Yeah. But But if you don't know that, you don't know that. You know, like I never had the experience of being secure in a relationship until my 30s. And I think because of my childhood experiences, the feeling of trying to get someone's attention, love, affection was very familiar to me. That was the template for some of my important first loving relationships. See me, please, you know, nurture me. And so that was familiar, and I sought out relationships where that pattern kept playing out over and over again, and I was trying to get love from something that wasn't there. So you don't know it until you know it. And it's it's hard.
Because I also discovered it at 29 in my current relationship. And sometimes it takes a while, but I'd rather wait. I'd rather wait for it to hit and kick in than be with the wrong person. And you got to respect people's boundaries. If you're on no contact, there might be a reason. And like, if they don't want to talk to you, you shouldn't force them. Or be, you know, if they are the love of your life, then when they want to speak to you, they'll come back around.
What is meant for you will find you.
Exactly. How true is it that you just know when he is the one? That if you know, you know. How true is that?
I think it's different for everyone, but it wasn't true for me.
Spill the tea.
Because when I finally found the man who could love me the way I need to be loved, it was such an unusual and unfamiliar experience that I didn't think it could be right. So I didn't know that he was the one. In fact, I pushed him away and sabotaged the relationship. You know, if it's not like the thrill and the anxiety and the excitement of trying to be chosen, then it's boring.
The butterflies in the belly that we think are butterflies, but it's actually anxiety. I've been there.
So, I mean, and then also, like, I've had experiences where I thought someone was the one and they were not the one. You know, so look, pay attention, be attuned to what you feel on the inside, but let your relationship experiences dictate whether that person is the one, not the feeling that you have right at the beginning. See if the behaviors and the experiences match that feeling, or do they challenge that feeling? That will tell you.
I think you don't really find out if someone is the one until you find out that they're the one. Like,
but takes time.
It takes time. There are little things, like when I first laid eyes on my boyfriend, I was like, he's the one. And then we went on our first date and I was like, he's the one. And then I had to get to know him. And then that reaffirmed my belief that it wasn't just like my intuition that I could trust. It was his word that I could trust, and like who he is as a person. Difference. Huge difference. Because I had other ones that I thought was the one. And then they slowly but surely showed me that they weren't. So you have to wait and see.
And I also pray to God that there is not the one. Because to find the one in a world of, what is it, 9 billion people? I'm making that up. But it's some kind of billion of people. I mean, those are some pretty depressing odds. So I really like to challenge people's idea that there's a one.
You should be dating around and figuring it out. I love this.
Me too.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. So much fun. I have to have you come back because I saw you have like a whole concept around like why dating down is a bad thing to do. And we have to discuss that another time.
It's so important.
It's so, because the girls,
the more successful you get, the harder it is to find a partner.
That needs to be a whole episode on its own. So you just have to come back. I'm sorry.
I'm so down. I'm so down.
Tell everyone where they can find you.
So my website is drmollyburrets.com, and my Instagram handle is the same, DRMOLLYBURRETS.
Thank you so much. I loved it. I'm glad we brought it. See, we brought in the big guns. We brought in the experts. Don't say I never gave you guys anything.
I have so much fun with this.
Thank you. Bye.